Good morning. This is Unit 2, Day 7. We're going to work with solving equations. This is kind of an algebra review. So every rational equation can be written in the form of f of x over g of x equals 0 if f of x and g of x are polynomial functions with no common factors. Then the zeros of the numerator are the solutions of the equation. We are going to clear our fractions by finding the least common denominator of all the terms, and then multiplying each side by the least common denominator, and that will get rid of the fraction. We'll just have the numerator. When we multiply or divide an equation by an expression containing variables, the resulting equation may have solutions that are not solutions of the original equation. So I'm going to go over what this means. But what we have to do is we have to actually plug it in and check that the solution is a real solution of the original equation. And I'm going to show you what all of this means. So we have this equation, x plus 6 over x equals 5. In order to solve this, we want to clear this fraction right here. We want to get rid of the denominator. In order to get rid of it, we need to multiply by the denominator, right? So we're going to multiply everything by x. The denominators are 1, or there's nothing there, right? So there's a ninja number, there's a 1 there. And I don't really need to worry about it, but I do have an x here. So I'm going to multiply everything by x, every single side by x. And what this means is x times x will give us x squared, plus x times 6 over x, the x's will cancel. X divided by x is 1. That's why we do it, to get rid of it. And I'll be left with 6. Don't forget about that 6. People sometimes forget about the numerator. And then on the right-hand side, we'll have 5 times x, which is 5x. Remember, if we multiply the left-hand side by something, we also have to multiply the right-hand side by the same thing. Alright, now I'm going to solve this. Since it's a quadratic, I know I'm going to have to factor or use the quadratic formula. So I need to move everything over to one side. So I'm going to subtract this 5x. And I'm going to be left with x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And then I can factor. So what I'm going to do is make my two sets of parentheses to factor this. I know that x times x is the only thing that's going to give me x squared, so I know this is x and x. Now the factors of 6 can be 2 and 3 or 1 and 6. And really what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of guess and check this one because they both can give me 5. 1 minus 6 is 5, 2 plus 3 is 5. So this one, that doesn't help me. I'm going to try 2 and 3 first. I know that they have to multiply to be a positive 6, so they both have to be negative because they add to be a negative 5. So they both have to be negative. Let's see if this works. Negative 2 and negative 3 is positive 6. Negative 2x minus 3x is a negative 5x. Perfect. Alright, and then I can, it says solve, so I actually want to find out what x is. I need to find the answer, so I'm going to set each one equal to 0. X minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. So my solutions are x equals positive 2, I have to move it over, I have to add it to move it over, and positive 3. These are my solutions. Okay, we'll try this one real quick. The denominator, there's only one denominator, is x minus 3, but this time we're multiplying by a binomial. X minus 3 is 2 terms. The binomial, x minus 3, and the x times x minus 3. Everything has to be multiplied by the denominator, x minus 3. X times x minus 3, we have to distribute it. I'm actually going to write it down so we don't skip that step. X times x minus 3, right? X minus 3 divided by x minus 3 is 1. That's why we did it, to get rid of it. And I think this is a 1 up here, so this is just going to be 1 plus 1 equals 1 times x minus 3 is just x minus 3. Now, I do need to distribute this before we can go on. X times x is x squared, minus 3 times x is 3x. I still have a plus 1 equals this x minus 3. I don't think I have any like terms. So what I'm going to have to do again, I have a quadratic. I have to move everything to one side, set it equal to 0, and factor. So I'm going to subtract the x, and I'm going to put it underneath the term that I can actually subtract it from. These are like terms. And I'm going to add the 3 to move it over, change your sign, put it underneath the 1 because those are the ones we can actually combine. So we have x squared, I'm left with x squared, minus 4x, 1 plus 3 is plus 4, equals 0. And now I can factor this. So I'm going to make my two sets of parentheses. I know that x times x gives us x squared. The factors of 4 are 1 and 4, but those don't add up to be a negative 4. I know 2 and 2 also work. So I know this is going to be 2 and 2 because 2 plus 2 adds up to be 4. They multiply to be a positive 4, but when we add them, we have to be a negative 4, so they both have to be negative. Alrighty, these are actually the same thing, repeated, so this is multiplicity 2, and I'm only going to solve for one of them. X minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to add the 2 to move it to the other side, so x equals positive 2, and this is multiplicity 2, right? Alrighty. Go ahead and flip your paper over. These are the things that we will see. So you can see that there's a lot of, there's more than one denominator. So we want to multiply by the least common denominator. In order for me to see what the least common denominator is, I need to factor this. X squared minus x, if I take out an x from both, this will be x parentheses, I don't know what happened, x parentheses x minus 1, right? This is x minus 1 and this is x. So this is actually our least common denominator. I actually have to multiply everything by that, so this is going to be this side times x, x minus 1, and this side, every single term is going to be multiplied by x, x minus 1, every single term. I'm not going to keep writing it, okay? Just multiply everything by it. Alright, x times x minus 1 times all of this. The x's will cancel. This is 1. X over x is 1. But I am going to be left with x minus 1 times this binomial x plus 2. In this case, when I multiply it, the x minus 1's cancel, but I am still going to be left with an x times 4, right? There's a minus here, so I just brought down the minus, plus, in this case, everything cancels. The x's cancel, the x minus 1's cancel, and I'm just going to have a 2. 0 times anything is 0, so we're good on this side. It's just going to be 0. I know I have to FOIL this to multiply this out because they're two binomials. So x times x is x squared, and then minus x, and then plus 2x, and then negative 1 times 2 is minus 2. And then this is minus 4 times, or x times 4 is 4x, plus 2 equals 0. Then we can just combine our like terms. I only see one x squared, and I see a positive 2, negative 1, negative 4. So this becomes negative 3. Tell me if I'm wrong. X. And then I see a negative 2 and a positive 2. So this cancels, and I just get equals 0. This is actually easier for me to factor because I cannot break it up into two binomials. I don't have a last term, so I can just factor out an x. They have a like term. They have an x and an x. So I factor out an x. I'm left with x minus 3. And then this time, each one equals 0 again. This is when x equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. And this is only happens when x is equal to 3. Alright, so these are my two zeros, or solutions. I'm not going to do this one for you. I want you guys to do this. But I'm going to tell you that this factored is, it's a squared. It's in the form of a squared minus b squared. So it's a plus b, a minus b. So I'm actually going to factor it for you. It's going to be x minus 1, x plus 1. And this is the common denominator, the least common denominator. So you're going to multiply this, these two binomials multiply together. You're going to multiply this by every single term, and things will cancel. Okay. So I want you guys to go ahead and try example 4. We're going to go on to the applications. It says calculating acid mixtures. How much pure acid should be added to 50 milliliters of a 25% acid solution to produce a mixture that is 60% acid? So we're going to talk about the milliliters of pure acid over the milliliters of the mixture is the concentration. Of acid. Okay, so X is going to be the milliliters that we have to add so we have 0.25 is a 25% acid solution of the 50 milliliters. So times 50 is going to be the milliliters of pure acid and 25%. Oops, percent. Okay, so X plus the 12.5 that's what I got when I multiplied 0.25 of that 50. I got 12.25 or 12.5. Make sure. 0.25 times 50. So X plus the 12.5 is the milliliters of acid in the mixture. This is the part. Okay, well, X plus 50 is the milliliters of resulting mixture. This is the whole. Okay, so this equation is going to be part over a whole. So X plus 12.5 over X plus 50 equals, they want it to equal, 60%. So we make that a decimal. When does it equal 0.6? Alright, we're going to be doing the same thing that we've been doing in this whole day. We're going to multiply by the least common denominator. The least common denominator is going to be X plus 50. We're going to multiply this side by X plus 50. But whatever we do to the left, we have to do to the right. X plus 50. This is always going to cancel. This is going to be 1. I'm going to be left with X plus 12.5 equals, and then this side, I have to multiply it out. 0.6 times X is just going to be 0.6X. You can put the 0 after the 6, that's fine. And then 0.6 times 50, I think, is 30. Check my math, please. Alright, and now you're just going to combine your like terms, move things over. I'm going to move my 6x to the left because this side is bigger. 0.6 is smaller than 1. And then that means I'm going to have to move my numbers to the right. And I'm going to get something like 0.4x equals maybe 17.5. Try it, make sure. And then I'm going to divide by 0.4. And I think that we get x equals 43.75. Perfect. So 43.75 milliliters of pure acid should be added. So I'm going to write this down. Milliliters of pure acid should be added. That's it. Alright guys, I'm sure that there's another one. I want you guys to try these out. And please ask me if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day.